So Neil, you've been working with ThinkPRO for the whole of this season, and obviously the whole Norwich youth teams get into the FA Youth Cup final. So how helpful has ThinkPRO been to the youth team and yourself this season?
I think a big help. There's a lot of talented players out there, but I think football in general is looking at how they can gain that extra 1-2%, and psychology has come into it massively, and some clubs have bought into it, some haven't. And whether it's a coincidence that the players, we've just been talking in a press conference, how they've dealt with occasions with big crowds and the psychological demands, the emotional demands that they face. I think they've had the preparation on a weekly, on a monthly basis with ThinkPRO. If it's helped them in any small way, then it's done its job. But the players have bought into it. I think they realise the magnitude and the advantage can be gained by working away from the football field, and obviously with ThinkPRO's help, it's pushed us nicely down that pathway.
And do you think that football's just starting to catch up with in terms of other sports, in terms of the sports psychology, because it seems to be quite far behind, or used to be anyway?
Yeah, I think football it can be a lot old school at times, and this is the way things are done, and nobody likes change, and sometimes it was thought, maybe for other sports, but not for football. But I think generally sport in general has come round to the realisation that there's more to just training and playing the game or whatever the sport is. There's a lot of external factors that can help improve performance. Psychology is massive, as we now know, and that's why more and more people are buying into it. But we've been onto it for a couple of years with ThinkPRO, and so hopefully we've got that little one-step advantage on the rest that haven't.
And what about the whole, because we talked about ability versus hard work, and whether that's going to be a case. Do you think it's, in terms of the players who have the ability but don't have the right mindset, do you think they just have no chance?
Well, ability will always take you so far, and it's a case of then how much further can you go. We always say to the players with the technical ability, you're good players, but if you do the extra work, then you're going to be an even better player. And it's the same with the psychology. If you just rely solely on your ability, and you're up against someone of the same ability who's then going and developing his game by psychology, fitness, whatever, then you're going to fall behind. And I think the players, the top players, now realise that in addition to putting in the hours on the training ground, there's also many hours that need putting in away from the training ground as well.
And I suppose it's not just for the youth team players, as you mentioned there, like the older players as well. How important is the mindset then, that in terms of having a long-term career?
I think huge. Because if you get into the right practices and you train and live the right way with the external help that you can get, I think it can only be beneficial. It's no coincidence. I think you see players like Ryan Giggs who were buying into this heavily years ago, in addition to diet and things, and you use him as an example. You could pick out one or two who thought they could do it on their own, who maybe have fallen by the wayside now. So when you see top players and they then reveal the secrets of how they've had long careers, and I think it's certainly for players at youth team level, they need to look up to that and think, well, if it's good enough for them, then it'll be good enough for me.